Trump signed an executive order aimed at the Smithsonian. A lot of people didn't think of that on its face value as being a big deal, but that is also the same museum complex that includes the Natural Museum of African American History and Culture. He says it's full of quote unquote improper ideology. That's not just a policy move, that's a message. And for a lot of us, that message is loud and clear. Trump claims that there has been, quote, a widespread effort, end quote, to rewrite American history in ways that distort the truth. This is the executive order that he posted to thewhitehouse.gov. But let's be real. What he's calling distortion is just the full story finally being told, the parts that were intentionally left out for generations. But now he's put Vice President J.D. Vance in charge of the Smithsonian's direction. Vance will oversee which exhibits are, quote unquote, appropriate, what gets funding, and what gets removed. That includes programming, research, and even a national zoo. Now, this same executive order calls for the return of Confederate monuments and says that the Smithsonian should stop promoting anything that, quote, degrades shared American values, end quote. So what exactly are those values? Because if we're telling the truth about slavery, Jim Crow, and the civil rights movement, if that's divisive, what kind of unity are we even aiming for? Let's not forget, this is the same administration that pushed Columbia University to change its policies by threatening federal funds. And now Trump has installed himself as the chair of the Kennedy Center to reshape arts programming as well. So here's the question. Is this just another culture war headline, or is this an active attempt to erase Black history, control narratives, and decide who gets to feel at home in America's story? Ty, what do you think?
It's all those, it's all those things. Like, it's everything you said. Take a deep breath. You ready? That was a lot. Donald Trump really puts you in this position with his foolishness, where you are wanting to fight against a lot of different things, right? And so, how can I say this? It's so odd for me to deal with this Donald Trump stuff. But this is an obvious, very obvious culture war attack, right? You're taking off the old monuments that were taken down, you're bringing them back, and then you're basically saying like American history didn't happen in the way that it happened. It happened in the fantastical way that we used to teach it back in the day, that made us look like we have nostalgia to be told a false narrative, and it's of how the country was founded, and it's a lot of work that was put into getting us to the point where we can be honest with history. Because if you really want unity, you can't lie about the things that happen to people, or sugarcoat the things that happen to people, or sugarcoat people's experiences. Like, why would you even want that to happen? Because there's no way for you to have unity when you have groups of people whose history is being erased and how they got here. And so when people are referencing the times that they had, the hard times that still exist, and you point to because of the history of things, and you have retold the history of things, it kind of takes away from not only the current struggle, but also what happened in the past. And it's really, really interesting that that's something that they're taking on. I mean, all of it's going to be undone soon. So it's kind of like one of those things where you just got to hold on, but it's so like they're going to go.
We hope it could be undone. Ty, if he's president for, 12 years, like, what do we want to do?
Jason, he's not going to be president past. Donald Trump is like 90 years old.
Yeah, look, evil dies hard. It
takes a lot. I always say dirtbags never die.
Dex, do you see this as being just Donald Trump being Donald Trump, or do you see this as an actual threat to like our cultural society and how we, see things and how things are presented on a historical level? It's someplace like the National Museum of African American History and Culture. It's someplace that's supposed to be revered and tell the absolute truth, and a place that we can look to as a beacon of light for reflection on our actual journeys. For something like that to be whitewashed, it feels like a little weird, right?
Sometimes I wonder, like, is this Donald Trump himself? You know what I mean? Because sometimes I'll see these things and I'm just like, he didn't come up with it. Like, who came up with it? And
I don't think it's him. I think you're right on that.
Really, just go ahead.
Yeah, and that part scares me the most, because one of the things that you and Ty were just saying is like, like Donald Trump won't be the president forever, and he can't be. But these ideas, once you get them put out there, like other people can carry them out. You know what I mean? Like other people like force this and push this, and that kind of makes me a little bit nervous with these things. Furthermore, there is plenty of people, and I know them personally, who are not African American, they're not Black, they don't have connections to it, and they would never go to this. They would never visit this museum. They don't care about it. It has nothing to do with their everyday life. Why do you care? Why do you care what these people, if other nationalities and groups and races are doing things to preserve their own community, why are you attacking it? Why do you care? What is the threat to you? Like, that's what you have to ask yourself. Like,
it's the Project 2025 people, and
yes,
it's something that people didn't weigh in the moment, but now all that stuff is coming to fruition because you have people who have been looking at this, who have been planning these moves for years.
Yes.
You know? So
for me, though,
it's not a thing that just happened. Like these are things that
when it comes to these types of things like this, I always just ask why. Why does it bother you? Why don't you want?
Because they're racist, Dex.
Yeah, yes, but like, really, but just say that though. You know what I mean? Like it's like we always beat around the bush when we do it, when we have these kind of conversations. But it's like this is rooted in racism, and that's what it is. And you're saying that you want to show like what America was founded on, so forth and so on. This is that. This is exactly that. Like show me otherwise. You can't.
Yeah, but I mean that's the point, right? They don't want to raise a generation of people who have an awareness of that. Like they want to whitewash what happened. They want to give you that, but also that was one of the points I wanted to make before I got too far away. Is like Donald Trump is really, in my opinion, just a puppet for the intellects behind some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like Donald Trump is a bit of an imbecile, right? He's like, you know, saying a bunch of stupid stuff, but like when he signs off on this stuff, like he gets a line and then it's out of his mind. But there are actual intellectuals who have, you know, historically rewritten history, right? And they want that history that they had written originally to go back in the books and unwrite the other stuff. And I think this time it'll actually be worse because the stuff that they're proposing is like
making stuff up.
This simply didn't happen, or we're just gonna gloss over this. And if you've ever read some textbooks and things like that, from certain, actually they're still existing in certain states. Yeah. Some of the stuff in it is wildly offensive because of how like even slavery is described and things like that. Some of it's really
not all slave masters were bad, you know, all that type.
But you know, I will say though,
even there were opportunities and
they taught them things.
Fun. It's so wildly inappropriate and so egregious that you wouldn't believe it. And that's the type of stuff they want out there.
Slaves were offered a curriculum where they learned how to do carpentry and grow things on a farm, like stuff.
It's also weird too, though, because like I know we talk about the younger generation having these issues, but to be honest with you, my upbringing was like this though. Like when I was taught about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, it was not reality. Like the teachings that we got in school about the two of them were totally different from what you get. Like there was no Black Panther Party being taught and all this kind of things like this. And like I didn't learn a lot of this stuff until I got to college. And I went to an HBCU. So if I didn't go to an HBCU and had an African American studies class, I wouldn't know half this stuff. And most people don't take that time out to go back and reread and learn these type of things. So like this whitewashing that they were doing, it's always been around. It's just like now you guys are just saying it out loud.
Right. Being public about it. All right. Scary times.
I know, like